Hello and welcome to Getting Naked with Happiness with me, Stephen Liu. Each episode, my guests will share personal stories of resilience and bear their emotions and minds openly. Learn from the wisdoms that they have gained through their journeys and create your very own well-being toolkit. This episode is a meaningful one because we are going to focus on the usage of light to increase our well-being and happiness, and how light can also decrease our stress levels. My guest is Raimar Geffken. Raimar is not just your usual entrepreneur, he is an expert of lighting and well-being. He was born and raised in Germany. He pursued an international career inside the Siemens Group and Osram before he founded his own lighting company, Ralum, in 2008. Today, Ralum has grown into an award-winning provider for solutions that turn built spaces into spaces of well-being through lighting, acoustics, and furniture. Raimar has recently started a project called Biocentric Life that is about spreading the message of achieving holistic well-being by putting life and consciousness back to the center stage. Without further ado, join me to welcome Raimar. Hello, Raimar. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Stephen. Happy to be here.
I'm so excited that you are here. Personally, I have been a big fan of lights. And
That's good.
I'm yes, and I'm also an advocate of well-being. So, can you share with us the importance of light to human well-being?
Yeah, very, very happy to do that. This is, I think, one of the most important messages that I like to spread out because it affects anyone. And we just have to understand that light has a couple of functions. So of course it's the visual function. It has to support our vision. That's what we all are aware, which is super important, and it has to be right for that. But it's also emotion, very strong relating to emotion. Think of a candlelight or certain colors, how they correspond to emotions. But it's also about biology. And here foremost, I would mention it's your circadian rhythm that every day needs to be synchronized. So the circadian rhythm, which in the end is controlling all the processes in our body, for every human is never exactly in the same length as the 24-hour day cycle. So for most people, it's a bit longer. There are other types which are a bit shorter. So this is like the situation that we have. And the daily synchronization to set it back to that 24-hour cycle is mainly done by light. That's the most important cue that we have. There's exercise can contribute, food can contribute, but by no means is as strong as light. So actually, every day you would need to synchronize your circadian rhythm, and this is essential for all functions.
How long do we need again each day for the daylight exposure?
The truth is, you need, I would say, at least 30 minutes per day of sort of qualified daylight exposure, better 2 to 3 hours.
30 minutes.
30 minutes, I think, is the super minimum. If you are blessed like we are, that you're always having sun and a bright sky. If you're living in Norway, the story will be different because you will have times where the sun is just very low, and so the radiation that enters into the through the atmosphere to the earth is different. In the morning, when you get this daylight exposure, it suppresses the melatonin, which you have built up overnight for sleep. So melatonin is the hormone that keeps you calm, sleepy. It's essential for sleep. So in the morning, the body changes. It's again, these are all these internal clocks which are running. So your body produces stress hormones, cortisol, serotonin, which are all important. This is good, but you need to suppress the melatonin, and this is done through light, and it's very effective in a certain portion of the spectrum, which is more in the green-blue area, but it's also really depending on the intensity. So you need a high light intensity, which you typically don't get indoors, and that's where the problem is. And it depends also on the angle that it's falling to your eye. So you need at the start of the day, this sort of lumen shower or light shower, how you want to call it.
Luminous shower.
Yeah, lumen shower. So if you can do it like before you go to work, perfect. I mean, if the sun rises early, like here in Indonesia, 6:00, you have plenty of daylight. So it's relatively easy to do here. And then, but noontime is still also good time where you have a break and you can get daylight. And then in the afternoon, like if we say like after 5-6 o'clock, the game changes a little bit, because then you should change into preparing for the night. So 7 o'clock onwards, your body would set for starting to produce melatonin, which then around 9 o'clock really kicks off in the evening. And in this stage, if you have a high exposure to light, and then especially to this sort of daylight-related light spectrum with a lot of blue and green in there, you would reduce your melatonin production, which then means you won't get the good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes people would say like, yeah, but I'm sleeping well, but it's probably often a misjudgment, because you don't know how well you go into your sleep phases, and it's memory consolidation and it's body repair functions. So if the body repair functions overnight are not running, you're aging faster, and there's trouble ahead. That's why sleep is so crucial. And I would guess a lot of people who struggle with sleep is because of light exposure. And guess what? I mean, why Apple now has a night shift? Because this message now is so clear that you should reduce the exposure to light in the evening. And so they tint the screen towards yellowish, so they take out part of the blue spectrum. But still, it's an illusion to think that then if you have this yellowish screen, that this is not photoactive. It's still a lot of light energy in there, but of course it's better than having this bluish white. Yeah, so if you watch TV in the evening, have the TV lower and get more to a yellowish color set, which now the industry is starting to support. Yeah, so I think this is the biological function, one of the functions. There's so much more about it. I mean, it's like an endless talk. Wow. So that's important, but also emotion, and think of bed lighting. If you have flicker, which maybe it's not visible flicker that you see it very, very visible, but subconsciously you notice it. So sort of a strobe effect. So this affects you badly. And it's proven that people who are prone to epileptic seizures might be triggered by such illumination.
Yeah, I if I could follow up with that, because we know that part of well-being development, even we look at our phones or devices before we sleep, there is a lot of artificial lighting, and it's known as a blue light that will also affect our well-being. And one great way I came across is to do technological fasting, which means that you do not use the phone before you sleep. And you talk about the strobing light.
Yeah.
I don't know about whether this is relevant, but when I put my phone down on the table, and sometimes the message came in or the email came in, there's the blinking light. It annoys me. It drives me to go and check it. I think that's the whole point that you want is done that way. And so I just want to ask you, Raimar, that if you could share with us, how could we embrace light into our lives in a specific way that we can improve our health and well-being? Are there any tips that you can share?
I think what everyone can do is trying to establish sort of routine to use light in a let's say more aware way. So trying to understand, and you don't really need to get into the science. So like this little talk that we are having gives a rough picture. Then if someone is in doubt, he or she should study further and will find why this is so. But if someone can accept it from a talk, then just follow this. Try to get high exposure to light in the morning time until noon. Again, like this half hour. And you can combine it. I combine it personally with exercise. So I have a gym at the place where I live, but I don't go to the gym. I rather run my rounds at the tennis court, because there I have the daylight. So the 30 minutes I'm running, I get the daylight. And again, the luxury, it's warm here. So you just wear a short sleeve. So even I support my vitamin D production at the same time, because that's another thing. This is then not visible light, but it's UV, which is UV light is a related spectrum, if you want, that you need to produce vitamin D. And how come that lack of vitamin D is such a disease? It's because we are indoors. It's crazy. Like even in countries like I used to live in Egypt, and it's a massive problem in Egypt, and you cannot believe it because the sun is shining there all day long, so bright. I mean, you never have difficulties finding the sun in Egypt, but still people lack from or suffer from vitamin D deficiency, and that's because they stay indoors.
I see.
That's because they stay indoors. And so I think that's one advice. Don't be afraid of daylight. Go for it. And the other thing is in the evening, what you mentioned, like the phone is bad. But the phone anyhow is bad because of many reasons. This is also, I mean, you know this all much better than I, but from a psychological point of view, you get the last message, which is sort of a panic message, and then you want to sleep after. It just doesn't work, right? So better leave the phone somewhere else. And there's no real scientific strong proof about it, but I would personally always worry about it as well, is the radiation, because it's pulsing electromagnetic energy. You don't want to necessarily have this close to your brain when you sleep. So if it's not necessary, I would not want to have it there. So that's another strong reason to have the phone somewhere else. Where I'm living, I'm not sure how it is in Singapore, probably different because you're really high developed nation now. But in Indonesia, people sleep with light because they're afraid. And guess what? They choose sort of these so-called daylight bulbs, which is meaning like this bluish white. It's the worst you can do. And it's all the night on. And even like 30 lux only, which is really not much. This can mess up your sleep. Yes, probably everyone had this experience. You wake up in the night, you need to go to the toilet. And when you then switch on your lights and you come back, you're right awake. It's just because of the 15 seconds of bright light that your body shifts.
Oh, can I follow up on that? I think that's interesting because recently I had a chat with this doctor who is in epigenetics, and she was sharing with us about how waking up in the middle of the night to pee actually disrupt the melatonin, and that also disrupt healing. And and this is exactly what you have said, because she said that there are 15 to 16 seconds of disruption that will disrupt the sleeping stages and in return disrupt healing. And healing during sleep is the most natural occurrence of being part of being a human being, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the point. The sleep has so many functions, and body repair, healing happens out there, and it's the quality of sleep. It's light, and unfortunately, like most homes are not built to support, like you have sort of a low light level for your bathroom. You have one switch, right? So that's normally it's like that, and it's very sophisticated, and so it supports like the makeup and whatever you need at other times, but not really like this low level. But this is something I think there is easy to solve. Like my bathroom, I have the luxury. I have a window, so. The moon is enough.
The moon is enough. Yeah, the
moon is enough. But if I wouldn't have it, I would seriously think of having a very, very dim light. A very dim light, of course, yellowish color. But it's more important. It has to be super dim, not bright.
And I think it's important, as what you say, that sleeping with the right lights, not the bright ones, but the ones that is dimmable, or before you sleep.
Just want to make that clear. Sleep without light. The only without light. Seriously, it's not a good thing. Yeah. So, and there's no cure by changing the color temperature. Like, yes, if you're in a hospital or whatever, you can't avoid it, right? So there are situations where you might need light, but as a standard, this is super important. Sleep without light.
Sleep without light.
Yes, so some people would struggle because they used it from childhood, and over here it's like always the stories with the ghosts, and people are scared. And then I'm always telling them, like, okay, even if the ghost is there, why do you think it's going to harm you? And why would the light make a difference? right? So
Yes. So what I do personally is that I dim the lights before I sleep, so that I enter an environment like maybe an hour. So it's dim
yeah,
lights, and then when I sleep, I just off everything. So
yeah, perfect,
yeah,
perfect.
so there's a transition between bright to dim and dim lights to darkness. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's the best way to do. And if possible, like 1 hour before you want to sleep, don't watch on a screen, whether TV or YouTube or your phone. If I mean, like, in reality, we have to face it. Sometimes our lives cannot really match into the optimum, but at least being aware of it and trying to adapt to it, and then like doing what you just described, like dimming the lights, because you don't really need much light in the evening. And so you prepare yourself. And then again, if this is for you is possible, switch it off in the night, or at least try to get to the stage where you don't need a light. Yeah. I mean, in my home country in Germany, it's not usual to sleep with lights. So for me, I was really surprised to see that basically almost everyone I knew in Indonesia was sleeping with light. I was shocked, seriously. Like I didn't get the point. Why, So
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I when I was about 15, I think I started getting interested in martial arts. So I was in a traditional karate class, and I didn't really notice it from the beginning. And when I spoke to the teacher, and he said, "No, this is traditional classic karate." And I said, "Okay, why not? I'm going to try that." And soon I discovered there's so much more about it, because it's really a spiritual thing involved, and it's very much about discipline. Which I think is of quite a high value, because at that age, if you can get into something where you accept that there's a regime of discipline, it benefits you a lot. Because what I want to say is there's sort of discipline where you object. Like I've been in the army, and of course there's discipline, but I was never a soldier by heart, so that was a duty I had to do, and I didn't really like it. So that forms you in a different way. I mean, your inner self is always trying to resist a little bit where you can, but when you accept that discipline is something good and it's part of the tradition and the process of that martial art, I think it's very beneficial. And so then that led me also to exploring about this concept of hara, and which is the center. And here I'm back again after almost 40 years, and getting back to that center as well. Then also got interested in Asian cultures, and started to travel to Asia as well, and then got deeper into that.
I think it's powerful to know that you have picked up karate as a form of like discipline, and also bring this art into raise or inner awareness. And I'm very excited to talk about that connection from your inner awareness to building Biocentric, which is your mission of spreading light to the world.
The reason why I also started this Biocentric Life is because this topic for me is very important. I see how it benefits myself. I learned also that a lot of people are interested in that. I try to address this in my commercial work with the company Ralum. But then again, we are a commercial company. So a lot of projects that we work, they go on completely different parameters, because no one is willing to pay for that, if you build an office. So there's only a few new clients that might be looking into that. And so I think, okay, I'm still trying on every project that we do. I'm having that pitch, and I try to promote, why don't you go in that direction, put my attention there. But I thought, like, this is too important to just leave it behind. So I want to do something which is not like I have to sell a solution, but I can really bring the educational point out and talk about that. Why the term biocentric? So biocentric, first I adopted it actually for the sort of human-centric lighting solutions that we do, because I found the term human-centric lighting is so much abused by the industry, because it's about selling. So these days, a human-centric lighting product is any product that can change the color temperature. But for sure, that's not the thing about it, because human-centric lighting is not really about a product. Yeah, of course, products can be involved, but foremost, it's about your daily exposure to light, and you can achieve a lot by daylight. Actually, you should achieve a lot of daylight. by daylight consumption. And so I wanted to find a different term, and then I thought about it, and Biocentric was designed to support life, because it's impossible by chance that these exact parameters of physics what would happen. Yeah? And so I like to take this word biocentric in a way to apply it on the micro world that we are designing, meaning that we should design our worlds also always having in mind that this has to support life. And we are not doing this, whether it's buildings, whether it's objects or work or processes. So it's so many things. It's either driven on cost or energy savings, which most of the time actually is a hidden word for cost savings. And it's not really putting the human into the center. There's new things, developments, which are very exciting. Even in construction in the US, there's a new standard called WELL, building standard, that purely focuses on well-being in buildings. So that's quite revolutionary, because before we had green building standards and so on, but they were actually only concerned about like what's the energy footprint. I'm simplifying, yeah, but mainly like that. But now as well, there's I think for the first time really a strong standard out there, which is taking well-being into consideration, and it's looking even into biophilia. So like having plants in built spaces. Yeah.
Can I follow up with just one curious question about what you do? Because it says that you are now creating impact into people by bringing light solutions and try to educate the public through a biocentric platform that you're creating. Do you have a personal experience that is related to some parts of overcoming challenges that is connected to your personal mission of spreading this message?
Surely, yes. I mean, there's always many steps in the life, but then I also had like sort of the bigger ones, and I think one thing which really had a big impact and where I really changed a lot was about 5 years ago, 2014, and my daughter was seriously sick, so she had to stay at intensive care unit for about 3 weeks, and basically like day in, day out. So my wife, myself, and the family was night shifting there, staying at the bedside. And of course, this is super stressful. Like first of all, you're in a panic mode because you think like the worst could happen. Secondly, you're staying in an ICU, and there you go. That's super bright light, 24 hours. Under the neon tubes, even in the night, right? So there's no rest. So this really stresses you out. And by that stage, like I was like, in my middle ages, if you want, I was okay. I felt happy. My company was doing okay, but I thought I was really like living on my battery in a way, if you know what I mean. Like like not really sustainable. So and means like I had high blood pressure and all these things that happen once you pass 45 years. To many who live a lifestyle like I did by the time, and so then when that happened, suddenly my blood pressure was 200 something. So I was like afraid like I'm gonna leave the planet. So I went to the doc, which before I didn't consider, and I said, oh no, that's no good, and you have to do something, and here's the medication for your blood pressure. And I said, okay, thank you, because I was really scared. I said, okay, I'm gonna take that, and but your blood profile, the lipids and so on, and cholesterol, this is no good, and recommend to take this. And said, no, I don't want to take this medicine because I heard so many bad things about it, statins and this kind of stuff. So I said, no, there must be another way. Okay, he said, and maybe lifestyle. So and then I went on exercise, changing my lifestyle, and that was also the time where I said, like, look, Raimar, I mean, like all the time you're talking to people about light and everything, and so how about yourself? I mean, like I started to analyze my day, and I saw like, okay, I'm leaving in the morning in a rush, take a shower, go to the office, and actually, even I have a nice office, but we are also here on not so high light levels, because even we are much brighter. I work under maybe 800 lux because I like it. It's nothing because the sun. If you go out, you were talking about 10,000 to 100,000 lux exposure. I mean, that's what nature serves. So we are far away from it. And so I realized, look, why don't I bring this into my own life and take this message serious? And plus, I always was interested in like natural healing, because here we have like this Jamu traditional medicine, and I was always open to that. And I thought, okay, there must be some way. And I started to look for herbals. Actually, I got really good advice in Singapore, in a shop, and like you have these Chinese stores which are selling. So, and I picked up actually 2 herbs, which ever since I'm still taking it until today. And the change was dramatic. Like my dog couldn't believe it. Like he said, half a year, wow. I mean, how could this happen? And so I was really convinced that this is good. And then I said, like, okay, the next thing now, blood pressure medication, I want to get rid of it. And I didn't like the message from the doctor by the time, like, no, you have to take this for life. You're getting older, and it's like someone telling me like, this is impossible. And then for me, it always immediately triggers like the reaction, but what if I could? So this even like motivates me to go against it. And so today I'm off blood pressure medication, and it shows it works, and I feel much stronger. And I'm still having a very stressful, if you want, daily job where I spend a lot of time, but I cut out like this half an hour in the morning. So I do my half an hour run. I have my my lumen shower. Yeah. I do like a 15 minutes meditation, which you can combine with getting sunlight. And that's it. And I skip breakfast, so that saves me some time. And my first meal is lunch, so that also helped me to reduce my my weight, which, I mean, I'm still not slim for sure, but I feel good, and the weight I lost, so that I think was very supportive for my
Can I ask
for my
about
body.
your when you were in a hospital during your daughter's illness? You said that you were there for 3 weeks. What were your thoughts and feelings at the time?
I felt like quite helpless, because we didn't really know what to do. And it's also like my daughter's a special needs child, so there is no clear path on how to find proper care for her. It's difficult. That's why also we always had to stay there. You cannot leave her alone in the ICU, because no hospital would be able to provide the care for her that she needs. And so you feel like a little bit lost, like helpless. Then of course, like me, I believe in God. So of course you turn towards that, and you find some comfort in prayer and this. But it was a very unpleasant experience. I mean, no one wish to be in that situation. But I mean, like, since you asked for what would be like a point where I really like started to take things on, so that was my experience where I really started to change things, and I did a lot of study afterwards. Went into sort of quantum philosophy and all this, which really benefited me a lot, because it answered a lot of questions I had.
I could only imagine that when you're at the hospital, you must be very worried. And could you name or share with us that what has helped you in that moment, or what are some of the coping skills that you tap on? Apart,
I think always projected like it's gonna be good. So like trying to build up the face, like envisioning taking my daughter home.
Okay. So you did visualization that you will be able to bring your daughter home at a point.
Exactly.
Yeah. That takes a lot of courage to share, and it means a lot to me that you could be so naked emotionally. Thank you for doing that. And if before we end, I would like to ask you if you could share with us that if you can share one piece of advice to people who are searching for meaning and happiness, what would that be?
I think you need to have faith, and if you don't have faith, and because sometimes it's just an easy saying, you need to have faith, but it's really hard to have faith. And I think it's fair enough to acknowledge if you struggle having faith. And so do whatever research. For me, it was a lot of research. I needed to understand things, but for others, maybe it's getting too connected to people who might be an example. So you build up faith for your purpose, that you really believe in what is your mission, or whatever is the core of your life. You need to build up that faith, and this is not a topic that we get taught in school or somewhere. So this is something we really have to get through in our life. Yeah.
Great. I think that faith is really important. You need to believe in something, and that will give us a lot of strength to persevere, and especially through the darkest and the hardest time. Raimar, I would like to acknowledge your dedication and mission towards helping communities to integrate light and well-being. I think this is an important topic that we need to do and move ahead in time. So, Raimar, if there are people who are interested to reach out to you to find out more about light and well-being, how can they do that? Do you have a link on Facebook or website?
Yeah, we have a website which is biocentric.life.
Biocentric.life. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the website for this new project where I'm reaching out. We have the iTunes podcast, which is also called Biocentric Life. And if it's really about a lighting solution, then of course my company Ralum is reachable under ralum.bits or ralum.lighting.
Okay, so we have it on biocentric.life and ralum.lighting, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes. So for me, one small action I will take after listening to this podcast interview with Raimar is that I would like to create more lights spaces in my room and my home, so that I could use this to create a certain mood, and all this will impact our psychological well-being and mental health. And no bluish white light.
In the night.
In the night.
You need it in the morning until noon, maybe early afternoon. You really need it, but not in the night.
Not at night.
In the night. Yeah.
Okay, that's my takeaway. For all us who are listening in, I would like to hear your thoughts on how you can or intend to integrate lights in your life to achieve a better well-being. Do share your comments in Facebook page, Getting Naked with Happiness, or Instagram # Getting Naked with Happiness. And thanks for listening, and have a great week ahead with light. Bye-bye.